Welcome back everyone to the course setup and installation lecture. In this lecture, we'll quickly discuss the following topics. What is Anaconda and how to download it, how to download the notes, setting up the course environment, and working with the Jupyter Notebook. So what is Anaconda? Anaconda is a distribution of Python. And all a distribution means is that it contains various Python libraries and it makes sure that they all work well together. Some of the more complex libraries have certain dependencies, and Anaconda just makes it easy and makes sure they're all working together well. If you're an advanced user, that is someone who already has programming experience with Python, you probably already have Python installed and you may or may not need to install Anaconda. If you're an advanced user who already has Python and you're familiar with pip install at your command line, in order to follow along with this course at this stage, all you have to do is at your command line, your terminal, say pip install Jupyter, and that will install the Jupyter Notebook for you. Now, for everyone else, let's go ahead and show you how to download Anaconda. I'm going to jump to my browser now. Okay, so once you're at the browser, go ahead and Google search for Anaconda Python download, and you should end up seeing a link that says something like continuum.io/downloads. Go ahead and click on that, and it will take you to a page that looks something like this. Every once in a while they change what the page looks like, but somewhere on the page there should be a link for actually downloading the Anaconda distribution for your preferred platform. You have Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So go ahead and choose the installer that's for your platform and make sure you download the Python 3.6 version. So we're going to download Python 3.6. This is a 64-bit. If you're on a 32-bit computer, they have a download 32-bit option as well. And then there's Mac OS, and then there's Linux. Once you've downloaded that, go ahead and come over here to where it says how to install Anaconda, and that will take you to a link for their documentation. And there's 3 separate pages, one for installing on Windows, one for installing on Mac OS, and then one for installing on Linux. It basically has step-by-step instructions on what you need to do depending on your operating system. However, I want to give you a quick note if you're on Windows. So if you're on Windows, it's essentially quite easy. It's a graphical installer. You just click next, next, next. But eventually it's going to add you or ask you the following. It's going to ask you whether or not you want to add Anaconda to your path environment variable. If you click on that box, it's going to say they don't recommend adding Anaconda to your path environment variable. However, if this is your first installation of Python onto your computer and you don't have it yet, go ahead and check that box anyways and make sure that you add Anaconda to your path environment variable. If you don't check that box, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to call Anaconda's Python directly from your command line. So that may cause issues down the road when you're calling things like Jupyter Notebook. So go ahead and make sure that you add Anaconda to the path environment variable. All right, so once you've installed that, go ahead and open up your command prompt. And let me quickly tell you how you can find that. So if you're looking for how to actually reach the command line, if you're a Windows user, go ahead after you install Anaconda, search your computer for Anaconda prompt. If for some reason you can't find Anaconda prompt on your computer, just go ahead and search for the term CMD. That will take you to your Windows command prompt. If you're on Mac OS or Linux, just search for the term terminal, and that will open up your command line. So again, Windows users, search for Anaconda prompt or CMD. Mac OS and Linux users, search for the terminal. This will bring up your command line. Let's go ahead and jump to the command line now. Once you're at your command line, go ahead and change directory to wherever you have your unzipped note file. As a resource, in this lecture, you can download a zip file containing all the notebooks. Unzip it to a desired location, and then from your command prompt, cd into that location. So the way you can do that is you just type cd and then the name of the file path that you want to locate to. Or you can just go folder by folder. So for example, I can begin typing in a folder name here, hit tab to autocomplete, and then I will change directory into that folder. If I ever need to change the directory back up a directory, it's just cd space 2 dots, and then I go back up 1. So I'm going to cd to the directory where my information saved. So we'll cd to this, and then eventually you want to cd into your Python for Finance repo, or wherever you happen to have the unzipped file. So that unzipped file contains a bunch of notebook files, but it also contains an environment file. The environment file is an environment that you can activate to actually have the same environment that I used when I was creating this course. So the way you do that is once you're actually in the repository with the environment file, it's the environment.yml. You'll say conda env create -f environment And to make sure to check that you're actually in the correct directory, you should be able to tab autocomplete this environment.yml. If you're not able to tab autocomplete that, you're probably not in the right folder. Make sure that you're located in the same folder as the unzipped notes that have this environment.yml file inside of them. Once you've done that, go ahead and create that environment. Hit enter off of this and you should see a bunch of downloads begin to occur. Once those downloads are finished, what you can then do is say activate PyFinance. And once you've activated PyFinance, you should see over here on the left-hand side that PyFinance is now activated. If you are on a Mac or Linux computer, you're going to need to say source activate PyFinance and then use that. So again, that's for Mac OS or Linux users. And you can check out the resources for a link on more information about Conda environments. Once you've done that, you should be able just to call Jupyter Notebook, hit enter, and eventually this will open up your browser. Now, if this is your first time using this, make sure to copy and paste this URL. So it says HTTP localhost 8889, and then it has a token for you. So if this is your first time using Jupyter Notebook, go ahead and copy this entire URL with the token. Otherwise, you may go to your browser and it may be requesting your token or a password, so you'll need to copy and paste this entire URL. Once you've had that, let's go ahead and bring over our browser and see what that looks like. You should see something that looks something like this in your browser. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and essentially what you have here are the files for the course. So we have the Python Crash Course, NumPy, General Pandas, Visualization, Pandas Time Series, etc. And these are more or less aligned with the actual section titles of the course itself. So if you go on Udemy, each section has a corresponding folder here. So for example, if it's time to go into the Stock Market Analysis Capstone project, you'll just click here, and then you'll see the actual CSV files that go with that stock project, the Stock Market Analysis project, solutions, etc. So again, all the information you have is here for you. In order to create a new notebook, just come over here, select New, and you should see Python 3. Sometimes this says something like Conda root or Conda default. That's okay as well. Just click on whatever is underneath Notebook. Once you've clicked that, you've gone ahead and created a new Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebooks have cells where you can type in Python code. So you can do something like 2 plus 2. And if you want to run this, just do Shift Enter and you'll get an output. Now, as a quick note, Jupyter Notebooks can also show you methods and functions, and we're going to show you all of that in the Python Crash Course. But as a quick show, if you wanted to check the length of something, you can say len, and if you do Shift Tab right after this function, it'll end up returning the documentation string. Now keep in mind the function must already be defined in order to see this documentation string. And if you have an object such as a string, so we'll say x is equal to my string, do Shift Enter to run that, I can do x.tab, and I'll see the list of all the methods. Again, this won't show up unless I've already defined string or this x variable in a cell. And again, we'll discuss that more in the Python Crash Course. But hopefully you already have some familiarity with this before enrolling in this course. Alright, if you have any questions on the installation process, please feel free to post to the Q&A forums. I'm always happy to help out. Sometimes different operating systems have a little trouble with the installation process, so please feel free to post any questions you may have over this process. Thanks, and I'll see you at the next lecture.